I wanted to know, like, going back to about race and about that topic with this short film. I see many times that you're posting, and I see on social media that you have a strong voice about racial equality and social injustice, and you're always basically highlighting where there are issues and where things need to be solved. Why is it important to have these conversations?
Great question. I love this question. It's so important because I think we get so used to just accepting the status quo, and accepting these traditional norms in society and culture, so on and so forth, workplace especially too, that we get stuck, right? And we wonder why nothing is being done to create real change.
Hmm.
And we also have to acknowledge that it is, the capitalist institutions, societies, and we shouldn't be fighting amongst one another. We should be fighting these entities that are quite literally, against us. So it's just so important for me to speak out and use your voice in any way you can. I know some people, like for me, I love to post. I just started going to protest a couple years ago, and I love to do that. Not everyone will protest. That's fine. There's other ways you can do it. I think the ultimate thing is how can we implement transformative learning, and meaning like how can we implement these changes within real life, within our families, where there can be some anti-blackness. How do we have those conversations in real life? How do we have those conversations culturally in society, and in the workplace? Like, how do we really stand up for one another?
Hmm.
Um, and I understand like it's uncomfortable, but it's supposed to be uncomfortable. It's not
Yeah,
supposed to be comfortable, and not everyone's going to agree with you. Not a lot of people agree with the things that I post, and that's okay. Like, I don't really care. All I care about is if maybe one or two people can see what I post and be like, okay, interesting. They can think on it and be like, all right, well, I didn't think about it this way. That's what transformative learning is all about. Like, setting aside the status quo, the traditional ideals, and thinking outside the box, and how we can really come together and create real change, not this performative change, So it's just about like the small ways, little breadcrumbs, everything counts, if
of
we work
course.
together. So yeah, I use my voice in any way I can, and I'm still learning. Like, I do not know everything. We all
Hmm.
wish we could. It's
Yeah,
a new process, right? Like, we're here as human beings to learn. It's never ending.
exactly.
It's important to me, and I hope other people see that too.
But you're humble enough to accept that you don't know everything, and there are times that if someone were to say this is actually inaccurate,
Mhm.
you're okay. You're strong enough to say, yeah, okay, sure. Like I
Exactly.
retract that. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's happened before. Like, I post something that I from someone who I thought was a reliable source, and I'm like, and someone actually messaged me. They're like, "Oh, actually, I don't think this is correct. I saw it on this other side that's more reputable." I'm like, "Oh my god, thank you so much. I'm learning. Please, like, call me out if I post something that's not correct." And that's how I think we also have to think about our ego, right? Like, it's
Of
okay to
course.
be wrong, and it's fine to kind of like tell someone something's wrong, but what's your approach? Are you going to go in combative and like yell and scream? No, like, be like, let's have a conversation, So I think it's great. Be humble, accept that you can be wrong. We are not perfect, So
Yeah, and too many people, because I like what you're doing. You said that you post things, and even if people don't agree, you don't care.
mhm.
And what your intention is you're trying to get people out of their comfort zone,
Right.
whether they see the post, whether they don't, whether they, take it the wrong way. The point is to make them think. It's
Yeah.
thought provoking. Tarantino, I always mention this on the podcast. He's my favorite director, right? And he did Django Unchained. Now I can see that being a very controversial movie to be made, but what he argued at festivals and on panels is that I want people are now having a dialogue about slavery. People are now Americans that were in denial or didn't want to talk about the issues. Whether they like my movie or not, the topic of slavery is being discussed. And it's important to bring justice to these matters.
Mhm.
And I respect them even more for that because again, this is not a piece of entertainment. It's something that transcends into something better. It when you leave the audience, the theater, you're thinking about it still. You're thinking about things that aren't discussed, right, on a daily basis. So, and it goes back to, as simplistic as this may sound, because I have a lot of black friends. we all agree, like there are a lot of them that were telling me, especially during the protests and things like that, that they would see people post and they knew that they're only doing it to
Mm,
latch onto a trend, right? And and I said, really? Because I was I'm amazed that like people would go that far. In my opinion, it's you should support the matter regardless of what you're thinking. And he was telling me friends and things like that, and we both agreed that, as simplistic as this may sound, because I know it's a very complex issue, but it really, the way I look at it, maybe because I'm just a good-hearted person, I don't see it that way, is it starts about being a good person. It starts about seeing people and saying, hey, how's it going? Or asking about their day, right? So many people are blowing it out of proportion. And while you're doing the donations and while you're, making awareness about this, start by making action. By when you see a person down the street, no matter what color they are, ask them how their day is. Or if they ask you a question, don't respond with such haste or such bitterness. I feel like people are afraid to be good nowadays. Do you agree?
yeah, it's funny that you say that because it was, I think this past summer was definitely an experience for a lot of people,
Hmm.
black, not black, so on and so forth. Yeah, I think a lot of people, when they see that an issue is being discussed, I think some people feel threatened, and it shouldn't ever be that way. Just because we're talking about it's just like, don't like all lives matter situation just because it's not being spoken about in that moment, right? There's a reason
Hmm.
why it's being spoken.
For sure.
And I think when it comes to that, I think people's like true colors come out. And just like you said, do you think people have a hard time being good? I think sometimes people have a hard time recognizing their conscience,
Hmm.
um, and think that, well, if it's not about them, then it shouldn't be about anyone. So I,
Yeah.
I think it's a complex question because there's so much to it. But I think, just like you said, it's just about, one of the steps is being a good person, recognizing that
Hmm.
it's not just about you.
Hmm.
If we work together, we can tackle so many issues, and really create something big that's beneficial for generations to come.
Yeah, it's important to not ignore these matters, and it's important to always have that conversation for sure. And the what we witnessed last summer is just that was my whole thing. There shouldn't be no topic of conversation. Like the people that were debating about it, the people that I don't know, like you hear it all the time, right? You flip on CNN. I remember the autopsy. They were saying, oh, it was an induced heart attack because of the trauma, and I said, no, no, no. I'm like, that was all because of the degradation of humanity. That person knew what he was doing, and I know they have to have a trial. I know they have to have some sort of, the court system, but
Yeah.
black and white, right? Human beings seeing that, every single person that I talk to knows that it was intentional. No one, you don't even treat an animal like that. Let alone a human being. So it was just a wrong sight to see, and I think that's something that needs to be discussed, and rightfully so.